Hello, all you crazy people out there. My name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games, and welcome back to making 3D wizard games in GameMaker. What am I doing? So the last time I added a couple of things. I added an input system. I added a couple like game objects, and had a camera that can follow around a player object. And I think it is time to go a little bit farther with that. Let's see. How do I want to do this? First, let me maximize this because I'm gonna want the screen space for some of this code, I think. Nope, that's the Windows snipping tool. Let me drag the camera code out to a second code window. We're gonna be doing some left, right, up, down, like moving around with WASD and that sort of thing. I'm also going to be I think I'll start with this. This is going to be looking around. Let's see. So the camera update, which is going to figure out where the camera belongs around the player, that's going to be happening in the end step. I think I'm going to separate it out so that like the player's potential input is going to be figured out in begin step. The actual like movement code, so like checking for collisions and whatever, is going to happen in the regular step event, and then the camera's update is going to happen in end step. The regular step event is probably going to be common throughout all like NPC objects. And then when it comes to NPCs following like an autonomous path, their begin step is going to be, instead of checking for input, it's going to just be, figuring out movement towards whatever their destination is. I don't remember if I said this last time. I don't think I did because I went through this very quickly. But this probably is going to get a lot fancier. This will have the camera immediately snap to a position. In reality, I'm going to want the camera to probably not pass through solid objects if it can get away with it. Not sure what the exact strategy I'm going to implement for avoiding that is going to be, but there's going to be some sort of like easing happening with the camera to make it a little smoother. But that's not something I'm going to be worrying about right now. So let's go into obj_player. Let us go into begin step. I can take begin step and put it here. Let's see. So we're going to all right, so Juju and Align, if you're watching this, you'll have to yell at me if I get this wrong, but I believe the way that I'm supposed to do this is input mouse capture set. So this is going to effectively lock the cursor, and I can set this to true to lock the cursor. There's an optional sensitivity argument for, like mouse sensitivity, but I'll deal with that later. And then I think I can simply say mx is going to be input. Is input cursor or input mouse for this? I'm going to say input cursor. X, that's a function, minus input cursor previous x. You'll notice that a lot of these input checking functions have like an optional player index argument, and that's what you would use if you wanted to have a game with, for example, local multiplayer, but not a concern of mine right now. Input cursor y minus input cursor previous y. I don't know why there doesn't seem to be an input cursor dx function. I'm pretty sure I've asked about that before. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember exactly what the verdict was. But anyway, I'm going to say direction plus equals the mouse X change. Pitch is going to have the mouse Y change added to it. And I shouldn't have to say window mouse set anymore because that is going to be automatically handled by window mouse capture set. Let's see, direction. So this is not yet done anything with, rather the camera doesn't yet do that with anything. So I think the way I'm going to do it, and this is another one of the things that I oscillate on the best way to do, but I'm going to have, I'm going to set the camera's direction and the camera's pitch like this, and the player's facing direction is going to be a separate value. But this should give me control over moving the camera at least, if all goes well. do I need to... Oh, yes, I need to set... What is the function? Input mouse chord space set, and this is going to be input... What's it called? I was just looking at it. I have to set this every time I use input in something. Input underscore chord space. And this has a few options, which... usually I want that to be GUI. There's a couple options if you're doing something different, but I'm going to set mine to GUI for now. This should probably go in the create event of the game object. I think we can set that up down there. Really? Is this just like not initialized? All right, is this one of those alpha input things? Oh, okay, I see. I will write this down and either do a PR to fix this myself. If it's not, you know, already fixed by the time by the time I finish this. Anyway. Okay. Well, I mean, it's a good thing that I set the coordinate space, because that's something that I probably would have forgotten until like I'm doing UI stuff. Regardless, and we appear to be, I mean, we're definitely locking the mouse cursor, but we're not moving. Camera's pitch and direction definitely should be doing something, assuming these values aren't 0. All right, those are both zeroed out. Okay, I think what it's annoyed about is let me move input mouse capture sets to the OBJ game create event to input cursor set, and I'm going to need to probably set this to the middle of the window. I was looking at some example code, and that seems to be what we're doing. Input cursor limit app. So that's going to constrain the cursor to within the game window. And then input cursor speed set. The speed in that example, input cursor set. What was it? Constrain? For God's sake. Limit ab. All right, so that would limit it to within the screen, and that'll have to be updated if the game screen size changes. Let me comment out mouse capture set for now, and see if. Okay. So now once I've like clicked to activate it, then we've got movement like this. All right, and the printouts at the bottom are doing what they should be. It's very fast. Why is that up there? I don't know. I think I know. But we'll leave a note for our future selves there. Let's make the default speed something more like 6 or 8 maybe. So like if I click into the window, all right, even this is pretty fast. Why is that up there? That should not be. All right, well, does this do what I think it does? All right, the cursor sensitivity is just as crazy as it was before. Is there a sensitivity function? All right, that's something I can easily do on my own anyway, is set the sensitivity of mouse movement like this. Actually, I will not delete that, lest I do want to plug in a gamepad and have it work, but we can configure that later. I can get rid of that printout, like conventional game maker logic would have you divide these values by 10 to slow it down a little bit. I guess I can do that. Again, implementing something like a mouse sensitivity setting would have probably produced the... Oh, good lord. Wow. Are you okay? I'm dividing the wrong number by 10. I'm dividing the previous value by 10, which is definitely not what we want. Where were we? That took longer than I wanted to. I've been recording for... All right. We could stand to... Oh, we could also stand to like actually lock the cursor in place. What was input cursor? All right, that's the one. That's the one I want. And this is actually a little low. So let's make it a little more sensitive, and we should be able to, like, you know, move the mouse. And okay, that's I'm just gonna feel out something that feels reasonable. 3, 4, I'm guessing is gonna be okay. All right, I can live with this. So let's figure out why the skybox is suddenly off in the middle of nowhere. We're setting that to the world matrix. To the identity matrix, rather, when we're done with it. When you draw the skybox... Okay, so this is going to have to be the player's camera, and not the world's camera. Okay, oops, that's debug mode. Whatever. So we've got the skybox back where it was. That's great. I can finally commit this. That took kind of a while. Mouse look for the player. Hopefully I'll be cutting most of that out, because that was mostly me just looking at input documentation. Oh, another thing I noticed when I was looking through that is that some of the verbs have apparently gotten messed up. So we're setting some bindings down there, and then default profile for mixed has not been defined. I don't really care about that now. Multi-device, no thank you. The gamepad... what was it, verbs? Yeah, config verbs. Not all of the names are the same as I wanted them to be. So we have action back, cast, instead of special and jump. And keyboard and mouse does not contain anything for aim up, left, down, right. I'm okay with that, because we're going to be using the mouse for that. And special was because I forgot to rename the other one. So we should have a few fewer warnings popping out in the console now, and I shouldn't have any nasty surprises when random gamepad inputs don't work. Okay. What do I want to do next? So I think next I'm going to have the player move around. Again in begin step. Let's define dx, dy, dz. I can mostly borrow this from... like the camera, the free cam. The z, change in the z coordinate is going to be, I can get rid of this because that's already taken care of. The change in the z coordinate is going to be dealt with a little bit differently. Set our temporary movement speed to that. Let's comment out all changes to dz. We'll deal with that when we get to jumping. And I should have something... Player's pitch not set before reading it. Oh, it's the y coordinate that I want to comment out. Yeah. It's going to take me some getting used to using y as the up axis. Alright, and since we're not going to be just like diving up and down in space, unless I implement like flying for whatever reason, do not know if that's within the scope of this game, but alright, right now we should just be looking at movement on a 2D plane, and we should at least be able to like walk. All right. Our direction is not being set. Also, this really should be using the input verbs now instead of the hard-coded keys, but I'll get to that in a minute. So that's fine. However, our direction, like when you look around at the camera, what happens is the camera's direction gets set, and what I want is that's great, but I also want like the player's direction to get set to that of the camera. So I think I started to say this and then like forgot, but the direction controlling where the camera's looking is going to be the camera's direction, but the direction controlling where the player's facing is going to be the player's direction. Both, like the player's direction is going to be a built-in value, like one of the built-in GameMaker variables, but I'm not using it for any of the built-in GameMaker things. It is going to control the direction that the player like faces, and that may or may not necessarily be the same as the camera's. So if I move, I'm going to set the player's direction to the camera's direction, and I will show some video on screen of what I mean by having the camera like rotating around the player, but the player's like visible object facing another direction. It's a common thing in third-person games, I think, but it's not the easiest thing that I've ever tried to explain, apparently. All right, so we've got the camera following the barrel around. That's great. That was a lot easier than the other one. Barrel. Camera follows player around. Let's see, something that I'd like to do, I would like to replace the hard-coded keyboard inputs with input check. What was that, W? That's going to be up, not forward, but up. S is going to be down. D is going to be the right. And left is going to, A is going to be left. So this is where the magic of input really starts to take off, which is that, like, on top of all the other complicated things it does, like handle, you know, like mouse lock and all that stuff for you, but it is also going to abstract away the actual button presses that you need when it comes to moving around. So if you have a gamepad plugged in, you can just use the gamepad and have the player move up, down, left, right without having to specify those in the actual movement code. If you rebind up, down, left, right, or A, B, X, Y, or whatever from whatever buttons they were initially, that's already accounted for you when you say input check with the verb name, which is very nice. I will, however, leave the like the free cam like that. I will leave the free cam inputs hard coded. This is really a debugging feature at this point. This is not something that's going to be seen in the actual game, but anything that's player facing, such as the input cursor or the obviously the regular movements or like navigating in menus, is going to be handled by the input system. Something I said I was going to do and then forgot is to have the skybox rendered through an actual camera instead of in here. So to do that, I can simply take this, put that in the draw skybox method in the camera. We can do all that. objplayer.camera.x, we can just say self.x, self.y, self.z, and the actual skybox model that we'll be rendering, I'm going to pass in as a parameter. And then we'll just call the render method on that. And then we can say objplayer.camera.draw skybox. The texture that it uses. Oh, that's already set. All right. That's already assigned by the Penguin Model Manager. All right. That's just a little bit of a nicer, hang on, that also goes here. But this is just a little bit of a nicer way to have the skybox drawing code all in one place. Okay, nothing visibly changed, but in fact, I'll get rid of this region that just has one line of code in it, and we'll include the draw skybox in the like setup render targets code. Okay. So just for some visual flair, I think we can, of course, have the player's barrel model rotated to be pointing in the direction that the player is moving. So now if I run the game, you should be able to see that the player's barrel is going to be like I can move the camera around, and if you imagine the player is facing like outwards this way, I can move the camera around and you can rotate around the barrel. But if you, oh no, we are not setting our, that is not what I wanted to happen. That's why. We're basically reassigning direction to itself. I'm curious if the game maker virtual machine is smart enough to optimize out that line, realizing that it will do nothing. Anyway, apparently, all right, there's a couple things happening, which is that we're rotating in the wrong direction. And also, I'm just going to add 180 here. Oh no, I'm not going to add 180. I'm going to 360 minus that, basically to get the opposite rotation. I think that's correct. Camera.direction plus equals mx. How come I'm like not able to rotate the camera any farther than that? All right, well, we're rotating in the direction that we're moving now anyway, and it's offset by some amount. It's offset by 90 degrees, but I feel like I should wait until we have an actual like player graphic before I fiddle with this further. Due in no small part to the fact that I can't tell which side of the barrel is which, like front or back, because it's symmetrical. Is this because I'm constraining the cursor to like within the room? It was. Alright, so I actually don't want that function call. Okay. We're going to set the mouse coordinate space. We're going to set the cursor speed, enable mouse capture, and then input set to, like, the middle of the room. Do I even have to do that? Wait a minute. My instinct, which is usually wrong when it comes to these things. Alright, I actually don't have to do that. I must have been doing something. I don't know what I changed, what else I changed, but I must have been doing something wrong. All right, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. We're just going to enable mouse capture and set the speed. Was it because I was doing mouse capture set true in like every step event, and it was like erasing the values? I have a feeling it was probably, that's more likely than whatever. Next, do I want to get to something resembling jumping today? So we've got character can walk around. That's great. I feel like jumping and running would be kind of neat to have. It's not going to be jumping with any proper collisions. Basically, I'm just going to be checking to see if the player's on the ground or not. But given how slow the beginning of this video was, I feel like it would be nice to have something like that. Let me do running first. So for running, I'm just going to say input check if the, what was it, the run button. So if the run button is pressed, we're going to set, for example, speed to like, let's go with 5. And if it's not held, we're going to set it to 3. What did I set the run button to? Shift. You'd think I'd remember. Shift. All right. So this is our walk speed. And let me like run past the crit so we can see our run speed. Yeah, we're going faster. There's a lot of ways you could refine this. You could a favorite of mine is to have the camera's field of view widen a little bit when you're running so that it makes you feel like you're going faster, which sometimes sells the effect a little bit more than if you just speed up. So the camera's field of view is 60. That's hard-coded now. We can say self.camera.fov is going to equal input check run. Let's say if we want to make it 72 when we're running and 60 otherwise. I'm going to refine all this. It's not going to stay this way forever, but yeah, we can draw back the field of view a little bit when you do that. Of course, the sharp transition is a little painful, especially if you hit the run button when you're not actually moving. We can say instead target field of view is going to be that, and then we can have self.camera.field of view is going to be lerp from the camera's actual field of view to the target field of view. And that's going to give us a gradual transition. This is still going to feel like you're going to be moving the camera's field of view even if... Alright, that's actually kind of slow. Even if you're not actually moving anywhere, just if you hit the run button, which might be a little weird. I'll address that in a minute. Yeah, see. Alright. Field of view of 72 when you're running might be a little sharp. I haven't decided. I definitely like the effect. I'm just not sure what the exact value should be. So let's see. So to deal with the second problem I mentioned, we can say the target field of view is only going to be set if so we're going to figure out if we've actually moved or not. So that's going to be if if this vector has a magnitude greater than 0. So we can say if has moved and you hit the run button, then you'll draw out the field of view. Otherwise, even if you're hitting the run button, if you're not actually moving, you won't. And this might change the way it feels a little bit. All right, so I kind of feel like I should actually, like the 72 degrees when you're running isn't bad. It does let you see like more of what's around you, but it doesn't make it feel weird. I actually like that value. I might stay with that. Couple things. There's a bunch of hard-coded values here. We're not doing anything with delta time. You may have noticed. Yep, I definitely want to do that. I like my at least pseudo frame rate independence. That's going to change a few things. The easy changes are going to be actually like movement scaling that by a delta time. And in that case, I'm going to want to like multiply the speed by 60 and then multiply that by the frame time. Same with the cursor movement rates. That gets a little weird with lerp because delta time only really works nice and easy with simple math with linear transformations and not with... this is basically like an asymptotic like fall-off model. So you will have to make some changes to lerp to make that work with delta time. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. Let's see. Anyway, that's running. There's the subject of having a little inertia, especially when you're running. It feels a little weird when you just suddenly stop. Instead of just having the player slow down over a few frames. that might be a little beyond the scope of these videos. But we're gonna say implemented running. What else was there? Oh, I feel like let's add some new verbs. Let's say camera zoom in and camera zoom out. So camera in can be input binding mouse wheel up, I think. And camera out can be input binding mouse wheel down. And on the gamepad side, camera in can be input gamepad button GP let's say use the L button. Oh, you know what? Yeah, let's use the L button. Sometimes games use like the stick presses to zoom in and out, but I don't think I'm gonna do that right now. Input binding gamepad button, GP shoulder R. If you don't like these default inputs, let me know and we can think about changing them. These are the inputs that I like, but they're not going to be like set in stone. And then of course I do want to have an actual input binding menu later on in the game. Let's see, I guess I can do this like at the bottom down here. If input check camera in. Let's define some variables first. So we can say var like camera speed. Right now I'll make that 1 again for actually I make that 2. 1 is a little slow. When we get to delta timing out on hard code a bunch of these, var camera min can be, let's say the min distance is going to be like 80 or so. And the max distance can be like, I don't know, 280 or so. That seems a little far. Let's say 240. Camera.distance minus equals camera speed. If you hit the camera out input, camera distance can plus equals camera speed. And then camera distance can be constrained between the min and the max. Camera min, camera max. Okay. So if you scroll out, you move in. If you scroll in, you move in. If you scroll out, you move out. And if the camera distance is outside the range of this range, then we're going to constrain it to that range. Okay. This is fun. I am not zooming in and out. Is camera in and out the same verb? It's the same verb. Okay. That would explain why that was happening. Let's that was a dumb mistake. I copied the line and forgot to update it, didn't I? All right, now we can move the camera in, we can move the camera out. This is actually still rather slow, so let me say double the camera movement speed. And again, wow. 10? I expected 1 to be slow. All right, that's reasonably fast. Okay. So if we want to zoom in or zoom out, we are a barrel. This entire game is about you being a barrel. But if you want to, did there used to be lights? Why do I feel like, I think I know what's going on with the lights. Hang on. Implement a camera zoom in and zoom out, and I have a feeling I know what's going on with the lights, and that is going to be, we're still using our own, like, debug camera. Should I... So, I'm going to have an active camera variable, which is what everything in the actual obj_game references. And that's going to include like which camera is actually activated when you render, and which camera is actually activated when you do the deferred pass. And we can say, for example, if you want to activate a free cam, you can just set objGame.activeCamera equal to this, and if otherwise you want the player to be in control, for example here, obj_game.activeCamera can be self.camera. And that should get rid of a lot of the nonsense with making sure that I was using the right camera at any moment. All right, so the lights are back where they belong. Particles still have funny alpha blending going on because deferred rendering, but we can keep track of the active camera. All right, you can dig down deeper into that still, but I don't think I'm going to for now. Let's see. So next, I did say jumping, and then I didn't do anything with jumping. So we can say, how about after we figure out up, down, left, right? I'm also probably going to, instead of, at some point anyway, instead of just directly setting self.xyz in the player's begin step, I'm going to like keep track of potential movement, which is more like which is going to be updated later, like in the regular step event, taking collisions and stuff into account. But first, that definitely sounds like something to do another day. If input check pressed jump verb. So the same way that our regular keyboard input functions have like regular check, check press, check released, so does the input system. Then we can say if self.z is equal to 0. And then we'll need to keep track of like a vertical velocity. And I'm going to call that y speed. X speed, y speed, whatever. Going up and down is going to be the only like direction that I'm going to keep track of a persistent motion, at least for now. Unless I do decide to implement some sort of like friction later on. Self.y speed, and also this is going to need to be self.y is equal 0. This can be set to, let's make up a number, 160. So that's going to have you going in the air. Actually, okay, that's going to be way fast. Self.y speed can minus equal gravity, and I'll make this not a magic number in a minute. Let's make gravity 0.01. So that'll be 40 frames until we hit the peak of our jump, and then we'll start falling. Let's make this 0.0 like 3. And it'll be more like 130 frames until we hit the peak of our jump. 0.5, 80 frames, so about second and a third. All right. Self.y plus equals. Oh wait. dy is going to be equal to self.y speed. We won't multiply that by the speed factor down here. And basically, that is definitely going to be taken care of with a more like collision-like with the actual collision system whenever I get that into the actual game. All right, what's the jump button? Is it space? Okay, wow, that is floaty. My one Mississippi. Okay, so it did take 1 second to reach the apex of my jump, but as it turns out, that's a lot longer than I expected it to be. 1 second ish for the entire arc of the jump sounds much more reasonable suddenly. Even that's pretty floaty. There's kind of a whole science to jumping in video games with like the curves of gravity. If you just do it purely kinematically like this, it does tend to feel floaty. With like a nice like parabolic arc, the way that jumping in real life works. Do I want to play around later on with like Mark Brown's jump fine-tune experiment program thing and get that in the game? Like, I could see myself spending an entire video doing nothing but jumping. Anyway. We can make the barrel hop. This looks extremely funny. I'm gonna stop now. Alright, so I promised that I would make this like not a magic number. I can't say that, because that's a built-in keyword. Is it still? Will it still yell at me if I do that? I actually don't know, because some of the old keywords in GameMaker you're allowed to... Alright, let's just call it grab then. Some of the old keywords in GameMaker you're allowed to make local variables now, like score and lives and whatever, I think. But I don't remember which ones are still prohibited. Alright, so gravity is no longer a magic number. The reason I don't make this a macro is because I'm probably going to still spend a lot of time on this in the future. Like I said, playing around with jump curves. I'll try to do some of that work off recording so I don't spend just like 40 minutes doing nothing but that. These are also kind of magic numbery. I could stand to pull some of these out. Like this. Clamping the pitch to plus minus 80 degrees also seems reasonable. We can replace those magic numbers. 360 I'm not going to replace because that's, you know, the number of degrees in a circle. I don't foresee that changing any day soon. Jump speed. Gravity. Field of view for run and field of view for walk. This is another thing that could be a game setting, because some people do like to have a little more control over their field of view in games, but for now, hard coding into that value is okay. The field of view transition speed, these have already been not made into magic numbers right from the start. And I think that's all of them for now. Is there a reason I would want to have update camera? As soon as I said that, I thought of several reasons. For example, like in a cutscene or something. Should we go there eventually? So I will leave the update camera in its own method. Y speed. I guess we can do that now. OBJ NPC. Really, since other objects are going to have gravity and that sort of thing as well, I'll just put that in entity, and then you inherit a create event. You should be inheriting a create event. Like that. Even as far as having other objects work like this, I said before that we'll be probably setting the potential movement direction in in player's begin step and then just letting like the regular game objects, regular step event, handle the actual movement and collision checking and stuff. And that's going to go for jumping too, but nothing else should have changed, right? All I've done is refactor a few lines. Behavior should stay the same. Yeah, all right, boing, boing. All right, the Mexican jumping bean, or barrel, or whatever. Let's see, we can jump. I guess I'm also going to mush in the magic number commit there. I'm going to mark this as a commit. I'm going to end this off here. I've been recording for an hour, 14 minutes. Got a little carried away, perhaps, but it was fun, so whatever. So you can, player can jump. Let me look at the deck of cards. So I can take this. I can check off these and archive them because I'm done with those. Next time, I'm gonna keep the entity render loop in the hand for now. It's like technically done, but I know I'm gonna want to fiddle with it, so I'm not gonna check it off yet. I think next time I'm gonna try and get it in 3D collision system. I don't know if that series is gonna be done by the time I sit down to record that, but I will try and take whatever I have and make it useful. So let's add that to the hand. That's going to also entail player collision with basic shapes. Set object collision shapes, that feels like something that's going to get done closer to when I get to the Unity import. That'll involve a lot of setup. Players should be able to ascend slopes. Not sure if I'll do that yet. Climbing, I want to do climbing. I've really always wanted to do climbing in a third-person or first-person game, but I don't think I ever have, and I really want to make this an excuse to do that. After I get like basic collision navigation in the game, I'm probably gonna... I don't want to try and forecast that far in advance, but like adding snow state, and I guess I can get around to fake shadows finally when I do this. Like now that we have something that's sort of like player-like. We'll see. That's going to all be done in like the shader. Oh, that's right. I did want to do momentum, so I'm going to have to probably go back in what I said and actually preserve motion vectors besides gravity. Anyway, I really want to make tutorials on input soon. Hopefully soon-ish. Input 6 will be officially out, and we can get a move on that. If you want the code for this, look for the GitHub repository down in the video description. Look for the 0.10 release. I try to post about 2 game dev videos a week. One Let's Make a Game Like This and one tutorial. So if you're interested in this or in the weirder things you can do in Game Maker, feel free to subscribe. I have a Patreon, so if you want to contribute to the channel, links to that can be found in all the usual places. Otherwise, I hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you all later. Special thanks to Zenjamin, Vitro-V, Squarecrow, Syndra Larson, Rowdy Coder, Manta Ray, Harold Guidry, Game Maker, Edward Holt, DJ Gibbles, and Army Armbuster for supporting these videos. If you want to support the channel, head on over to the Patreon page down in the video description to join the fun.